It all started in the middle of 7th grade. I still remember the day we were told school would be closing down for 2 weeks. At the time, it felt surreal. Nobody really understood what was happening. We just knew we were getting a break. For a kid in middle school, that sounded like a dream. But as the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, it became painfully clear that this wasn't a vacation. It was the beginning of something much bigger, something we now know and call the 2020 effect. At first, it was little things. No more waking up early, no more rushing to catch the bus, no more awkward small talk in the hallways. It felt like an introvert's paradise. But the novelty wore off fast. The days began to blur together, I lost track of time, and even I was technically still in school, it didn't feel like it. We weren't really learning, we were just showing up to Zoom calls, half asleep, cameras off, microphones muted, watching the minutes tick by. And the worst part was that we were all pretending this was normal, that we could still grow up this way. The 2020 effect wasn't just about the virus, it was about what it took from us. It drained the color out of everything. The laughter we used to hear in the classrooms got replaced with silence. The chaos of school hallways, the excitement of field trips, the nerves before a big game or a school dance, it all vanished. Instead, we were stuck at home, watching the world through screens, scrolling endlessly just to feel something. We were physically safe, sure, but emotionally, we were all breaking down. I didn't realize how much it was affecting me at the time, and none of us did. Much of us were just playing video games and enjoying our life. We were too young to fully understand what was being taken away from us. We thought we'd bounce back easily, that once the lockdowns ended, everything would snap back into place. But that's not how it works. When you lose connection for that long, when you're isolated during the years you're supposed to be discovering who you are, it changes you. It rewires you. I remember birthdays that felt like afterthoughts, holidays that passed like regular days, friendships that used to mean everything slowly fading into the silence. Everyone was dealing with their own version of the same thing: loneliness, uncertainty, and frustration. The world wasn't just on pause, it was off balance, and we had to pretend like we were fine. By the time school returned in person, it was already too late. The damage had been done. We walked back into those buildings as shadows of who we previously were. The masks weren't just physical, they were emotional. Conversations were different. People had changed. We had all aged, but we didn't feel older. We felt like we skipped chapters in a book, like we were in a story that no longer made sense. High school started, and I barely noticed. It wasn't the experience I had seen in movies or heard about from older siblings like the American dream. There was no big moment, no rite of passage, just more rules, more distancing, more loss. Even when restrictions eased, the energy didn't come back. School events felt forced, parties felt strange, relationships felt fragile. Everyone was carrying this invisible weight, trying to pretend it wasn't there. That weight followed us everywhere, into classrooms, into locker rooms, into our homes. We tried to rebuild, to reclaim some sense of normalness, but it never quite clicked. And because it had gone on for so long, we started to accept it. We forgot what it felt like to be excited, to look forward to something. We stopped dreaming. We were just getting by. The 2020 effect turned 5 years of life into a blur. Middle school ended with closure, high school started without excitement. The in-between moments, the ones that really shape who you are, were either missing or muted. Sure, we made memories, but so many of them feel like half memories, like they're missing a layer of emotion, like they happened in black and white, not in full color. And yet, as strange as it sounds, that shared experience bonded us. We understand each other in a way no one else could. We were the generation that grew up in isolations, the ones who learned how to grieve quietly, how to celebrate cautiously, and how to connect through distance. It made us more empathetic, more resilient, but it also made us tired. There were moments over the past 5 years that hinted at hope. A concert here, a gathering there, a summer that felt almost real. But it always faded. The energy never lasted. It was like trying to start a fire with damp wood. Something was always missing. Until this year. This year started to feel different. At first, it was subtle. People smiling more, crowds growing louder, friends planning things again and actually showing up. The world wasn't just opening up physically, it was opening up more emotionally. There was a shift in the air. For the first time in years, things started to feel alive again, especially around me. It's hard to describe, but it's like the colors coming back. Not just in the literal sense, in the trees, the sunsets, the clothes people wear, but in the emotional sense. The laughter sounds fuller, the music feels deeper, moments feel real again. I've started noticing how blue the sky is, how warm the sun feels, and how much I've missed those tiny details. I go on walks every single day now, and it's really turning around my mindset of what our Earth really is about. Graduation also kind of felt different this year, not just because I finally made it through high school, but because it felt earned. It felt real. I looked around at my classmates, and for once, it didn't feel like we were just surviving. We were actually present, we were connected, and we were finally living that dream, even though I had graduated a little bit earlier. And now, for the first time in 5 years, summer feels like it's gonna actually feel like a summer. Not just a break from school, but a return to my life. A chance to reclaim what I lost. The freedom to be spontaneous, to get in a car and drive with no destination, to laugh until our stomachs hurt, to dance without filming it, to feel without filtering it. This summer feels like 2019, like before the 2020 effect rewrote our lives. But it's not exactly the same, and that's okay, because we're not the same. We're older, wiser, a little more scarred and scared, and also a lot more grateful. We've learned how precious these moments are. The truth is, the 2020 effect changed us. It made us question everything. It made us feel like the best years of our lives were stolen from us. And in some ways, they were. But it also gave us something else, a deeper appreciation for what we have now. We don't take connection for granted anymore. We don't roll our eyes at plans or skip out on events just because we're tired. We know what it's like to lose everything. And now that we have it back, we're holding on tight. This summer isn't just about fun. It's about healing, about rediscovering joy, about letting go of the fear that's been gripping us for half a decade. It's about the late nights, spontaneous road trips, messy group chats, and music blasting out of open car windows. It's about laughing until we can't breathe, crying because we feel safe enough to, and sitting in silence with people who truly get us and get the 2020 effect. It's about remembering who we were before the world fell apart and realizing that we're still in there somewhere. The 2020 effect didn't end overnight. It lingered. It haunted us, but now it's slowly fading. Not because we've forgotten, but because we're finally moving forward in the right direction. We're not living in the past, we're living in the present and the future. So here we are, at least for me, graduated, kind of grown, and a little bit more awake than I was the past 5 years. I'm ready to make new memories that don't feel muted, ready to live life in full color again, and ready to take back everything I lost over these past 5 years. This is the first year that truly feels like the ones before 2020, but better, because we're not just living like we used to, we're living like how we know how fragile it all is. And we're not going to waste a second of it, because now we understand the value of a single moment. We know that everything can change in an instant, and that nothing, not even time, is guaranteed in this lifetime. That knowledge doesn't make us bitter, it makes us bold. It pushes us to say yes more often, to take chances, to speak our minds, to chase what sets our souls on fire. We've already lost so much. We're not afraid of falling anymore. We're afraid of not trying. And that's the kind of fear that fuels courage. It's no longer about playing it safe or waiting for the perfect time. If we've learned anything from the 2020 effect, it's that the perfect time may never come. Life doesn't wait up for you. Opportunities don't always knock twice, so we've stopped waiting to be ready. We've started showing up anyway. Messy, imperfect, a little unsure, but present. And being present is everything. It's where life actually happens. Not in the scrolling, not in the planning, not in the fear, but in the actual moment. This summer isn't just a chapter, it's our turning point. A reawakening, a signal that the worst is behind us, but not forgotten, and transformed. The pain, the isolation, the years we lost, they don't define us. What defines us is what we do now and how we react. What defines us is how we carry forward, with hearts more open, minds more grounded, and spirits more alive than they've been in a long time. We're not just teenagers figuring things out anymore. We're survivors of something massive, and that gives us depth that most people don't understand. We're stronger now. Not just because we had to be, but because we chose to be. Every time we showed up for that Zoom call, even when we didn't feel like it, every time we reached out to a friend, even though we know they are hurting too, every time we tried to smile when it would have been easier to just give up. Those weren't small things, those were little battles, and we won them, day by day, in quiet rooms with no applause. And now we get to celebrate, not just because my school is over, and not because you guys are getting out too, not just because the world feels open again, but because we've made it through. We made it through a time that history will never forget, and instead of letting it destroy us, we let it shape us, mold us, teach us. We learned how to sit with discomfort, how to value connection, how to find meaning in silence. We learned that even in the darkest times, we could still find sparks of light. So let this be the start of something new. Not just your summer, not just a season, but your mindset. A way of living where we show up fully, where we love loudly, and where we dream without holding back. The world is open again. The future and your future is unwritten. And for the first time in a long time, we're ready to write our own story, one filled with purpose, passion, and moments super vibrant. They can never be muted again. Let's be the generation that turns scars into stories, that turns hesitation into action, that uses what we've been through not as an excuse to hide, but as a reason to shine. We don't need to pretend we're fine anymore. We don't need to act like we weren't changed. We were changed, and that's exactly what makes us powerful. We see the world differently now. We feel more deeply. We know what matters, and we're not wasting another second pretending we don't. The best part, we get to do this together. We get to lift each other up, remind each other of our worth, and hold space for joy without guilt. We get to dance in parking lots, cry on rooftops, scream lyrics in packed rooms, and laugh until we forget why we were sad in the first place. We get to be alive again, and feel alive again. This is our moment, not just to recover, but to rise, to take back what we lost and build something better, to live not in fear of the past, but in the excitement for the future, because we're already been through the worst, and now everything ahead of us, it's possibility, it's freedom, it's hope. So here's the nights that don't end, the friends that stay, the memories that finally feel real. Here's to that fire inside of us, the one that never fully went out, even in our darkest days. We're here, we're healing, and we are just getting started.